Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. Salutations to all. So we were seeing Canto 5 and we saw the life of the great incarnation of Bhagwan, that is Rishabhdev ji. And in 6th chapter we saw how that prasang of Rishabhdev ji concludes there. Because Rishabhdev ji lived like a great avadhut and people thought about him as a mad person, etc. But he was reveling in the absolute bliss. And we saw that how in the forest fire, his body also dropped. Then we see that he had appointed King Bharat. He has appointed Bharat, his son, his eldest son, as the king. So in the 7th chapter, we begin from there, continue from there. So Bharat Raja was a great devotee of Bhagwan also. And up to his rule, our country was called Ajanabha Varsha, based on Nabhi Raja. Nabhi Raja's son is Rishabhdev, Rishabhdev ji's son is Bharat Raja. So Ajanabha Varsha was the earlier name of our country. And after Bharat Raja became the emperor and he ruled gloriously for many, many years, the country came to be known as Bharat. Now, Rishabhdev ji entrusted the responsibility to Bharat Raja, and so Bharat Raja, he also married Panchajani, the daughter of Vishwarupa, and he had 5 children. So it is said Sumati, Rashtrabhrit, Sudarshan, Avarna, and Dhumraketu. 5 children are born to him. 5 sons actually are born to him. Now, he was a very wise person, very learned, just like his father, his grandfather, his ancestors. So he did his duties very well, and also he engaged, not only he was doing his duties well, but he also ensured that the praja also does their duty properly. So here we see that one aspect is, as a king, he does all his duties, taking care of the praja, protecting them, ensuring their welfare, bringing prosperity, all that. And praja also follows nyaya, follows dharma. They live righteously. They are also able to ensure that there's harmony in the society, there is development, all that. So he ensures all that happens. And he's also a very devoted person to Bhagwan. So he continues to do certain yajnas. So here it is said that Agnihotra, Darsha Purnamasa, Chaturmasya, like that, different yajnas which are there, he would do them with proper brahmanas and with the proper vidhi, everything, with lot of faith, etc. he would do. And what he would also do is, sakama karma has a lot of limitations. The actions done with desire, and even some of the yajnas and havans and spiritual practices or pujas, etc., which are done with the sakama bhavana, meaning to fulfill a specific desire. In different places in the scripture, the limitations of that are explained. That the result of that sakama karma will be limited. however glorious it can be, even if it gives a lot of punya, one may go to heaven, enjoy, but it is still limited. The same karma, if it becomes nishkama karma, the result of it is infinite, because it will prepare the mind and finally unite one with the infinite Lord. So Bharat Raja was aware of all these. And also his heart has devotion for Bhagwan. So when there is that devotion for the Lord, then one surrenders to Bhagwan. And also he has a certain level of maturity born through his understanding, through his study, plus his samskars, whatever have come to him from his grandfather, from his father, etc. And so it is said here that whatever yajnas also he did, the karma phala of that, because he did it with the with nishkama bhavana, so he would offer the result of that also to Bhagwan, even the nishkam karma. So that's what he says here, that he did not have material desires for himself and no attachment, lust, greed. So whatever of oblations are also offered. Generally, people offer oblations to devatas so that they please the devatas, and then the devatas will bless them with whatever they desire. That is the sakama karma. So here it is said that he would offer ahutis, and he did not bother about any specific result that he wanted out of that yajna. Dharma also he offers mentally to Bhagwan. To Bhagwan Vasudeva. Because Bhagwan is actually the yajna bhuk. He is the enjoyer of the sacrifice truly. But when we do sakam karma, then it becomes yajman bhuk, not yajna bhuk. Yajman bhuk means that the ahutis are meant to please the devatas for the fulfillment or happiness of the yajman. Here he doesn't want. He devoted to Bhagwan. He says, I offer it to the Lord. And so many mantras and devatas, etc., who are propitiated, he is not propitiating them as independent devatas. He is propitiating them as a part of Bhagwan only. That they all are an aspect of the cosmic form of Bhagwan. So his mind is engaged in devotion to the Lord. So here he says this, that the result of the sacrifices, namely dharma, is also offered to Bhagwan Vasudeva, because Vasudeva is the ultimate performer of all actions. He is the Yajna Purusha. He is the one who consumes all the offerings also. And he is only the one who gives the devatas also all their powers. And so, Bharat Raja, he was very clear that I am doing this out of love for Bhagwan. I want nothing out of this. So, he did yajnas as they were supposed to be done. But all the yajnas are done for the satisfaction of Bhagwan Vasudeva, who is the enjoyer of the sacrifice. So he is not the bhokta. Then is he the karta? So he says he is not even the karta. So he did it through representatives like the Adhvaryu. So all the 4 types of priests, Adhvaryu, Hota, Udgata, and Brahma. There are 4 different types of priests in a ritual. Each of them have their specific duties. So he has appointed all of them. He sits there. They chant the mantras. They figure out the ahutis. They also offer ghee. They also offer him whatever ahutis he has to offer. So he does it properly. But he knows very clearly that Bhagwan alone is the real karta. Bhagwan is the antaryami. He is the karta, dharta, harta. He is everything. And so he is the yajna krit, yajna bhuk, and yajna purusha. Everything is Bhagwan. Even in the Gita, when Bhagwan says, he says, aham kraturaham yajna swadaham aham aushadham mantroham aham evajyam aham agniraham hutam. He says, I am everything. See, even though he is doing a ritual, many people say, oh, he is very ritualistic. And the rituals are required only till you develop devotion. After that, no need of any ritual. He has so much of devotion, but he's still doing the ritual. Point one. Point two, what is our bhavana towards the ritual is very important. If we don't do the ritual with this attitude that, oh, this is all ritualistic, I'm not a ritualistic person, I don't believe in all this, then our ego only is talking. Then even if I'm not doing ritual, I am not evolving anything higher. If I do the ritual with sakama bhavana, at least some samskar of bhakti has come in and some humility comes that this ritual I did, this karma I did, this yajna I did, and as a result of that, Bhagwan's blessing has come in my life. So I got particular fulfillment of desire. So I'm very grateful. That bhavana is what will make us humble, grateful, surrender, accept. And if one does the ritual with the nishkama bhavana, just out of love for the Lord. So what if I have bhakti? Is it not that when one has bhakti, when one has love for anyone, then one wants to do to please that person. One doesn't want anything for oneself. If a parent loves the child, if a, let's say, patriot loves the country, the person wants to do something for the country, for the child, to make that child happy, to make that country develop, prosper, etc. So, Bhakta will do that to please Bhagwan. That does not mean bhakti is not there or bhakti is lesser, or that if bhakti comes and you don't need to do rituals. It's not a question of need, it's a question of feeling. If one loves Bhagwan, then one wants to connect through Bhagwan. Ritual is one beautiful method to connect. And that is to train the senses also, to divinize the senses also. So, we have to understand the bhavana behind it. Otherwise, we get carried away by some notions that people have. I am not very ritualistic. That they will apply only to spiritual path. They don't apply that to other things. Everywhere else they have rituals and they follow. But when it comes to spiritual path, then suddenly they say, no, this is all ritualistic. I don't believe in all this. That is immaturity. Here is Bharat Raja who has evolved, very highly evolved, and he doesn't stop doing rituals, and especially now he is a king also. So he sets an example for so many. He stops doing, then Praja will not do. And it is not that he feels bound by the rituals, and we feel all that. I don't want to be bound by limited rituals. I should be free. The purpose of sadhana is to free the mind, and these are all very shackling things. Stupidity when we say all these things. The ritual literally frees the mind of its raga and dvesha. The ritual frees the mind of the ego. The ritual frees the mind from the craving of the senses and makes them steady. The ritual frees the mind of completely the attachments, the aversions, the wanderings of the mind, the ignorance. Somebody who experiences the joy of doing puja or bhajan or japa or sadhana, that person will not even talk like this. The empty vessels make all kinds of noise. Big Shankaracharya-jis, they keep doing the pujas. With the humility is there, I am a upasak, I am a worshipper of the divine, and I sincerely worship Bhagwan. And Anugraha of Bhagwan, only even Vedanta will come into our understanding and we will be able to absorb it. What is actually shackling is our raga and our dvesha, our vasanas, our extrovertedness, our ignorance, our wandering of the mind, our mala, vikshepa, avarana, that is shackling. How can ritual be shackling, or how can puja or japa or any sadhana bind us? That is only liberating. And when that vivek is not there, then what is binding? We think that is liberating. I can do anything that I like. That is binding, because I am a slave of the mind. I can't say no to the mind. That is binding. If the mind goes through some discomfort and something which is not so pleasant, then one feels very disturbed. That is binding. So that vivek has to happen, that what is really binding and what is not binding. Here is this Bharat Raja, he is doing such beautiful karmas. And he doesn't feel that I don't have any desire and why should I do? I do because I love Bhagwan. Full stop. And it's not that that's the only way to love Bhagwan, but that is also a way to love Bhagwan and express the love through karmas, and it will help also to set the right example for people. People like Gurudev, Tapan Maharaj, they don't have to do anything. They are realized beings. They don't have to even set up any institution. Gurudev set up an institution. Tapan Maharaj, he wrote some books also. Why does he have to write any books? But that is a compassion to help others, to pave the way, to show the path for others. Gurudev used to have a japamala in his, on his wrist, and so many times he would just remove it and he would start doing japa. Why does he need to do japa? Somebody who's gone beyond mind. But if he is doing that, then everybody else will follow. That is a example he also sets. So Bharat Raja here he sets beautiful example, and it is said here that his bhakti was very, very pure. So though he worshipped the devatas, he did not worship them forgetting Bhagwan. He did not worship them because he thought that they have some powers and I will benefit from them. But he worshipped because they are a part of Bhagwan's Vishwarupa. So that's what he says here, that see here, if you see in this is written in prose. So if you see the sixth one, he says here that his passions having been attenuated by his sagacity, he contemplated upon the deities, enjoying a share in the sacrificial offering as so many limbs of the Supreme Person. So he saw the devatas as a part of the Vishwarupa Bhagavan. He did not think of devatas as independent of Bhagavan. And he didn't seek favors from them because he knows that Supreme Lord alone is the one from whom everyone and everything derives power. And so in his heart, devotion for the Supreme Lord Vasudeva keeps increasing day by day. And he also knows that that same Bhagwan Vasudeva is the Supreme Brahman who is nameless, formless. So it's not that he doesn't know that. He also knows that. Yet he worships Bhagwan, and that form of Bhagwan is beautifully again described here. That Bhagwan has the mark of Srivatsa, then there is a Kaustubha Mani, he wears the Vanamala, there is Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, and he is in the hearts of the devotees, shining brightly as the Antaryami. So Bharat Raja knows all this. Now it is said here, see these number of years, etc., maybe sometimes it is poetic expression or maybe it is an exaggeration. It is said here that 10 million years, having concluded at the end of 10 million years, Varsha Yuta Sahasra Paryantam. The store of merit responsible for his royal fortune must have been exhausted by that time. He ruled the kingdom very well. He acquired a lot of punya also, and he grew whatever, the country, the kingdom, everything prospered. Now 10 million years he ruled. Then he divided amongst his son the hereditary fortune, which was given to him, hereditary fortune. So it came to him from his grandfather and father. What did he do? He went away to the ashram of Pulaha Rishi. Where is that? On the banks of Gandaki river in Nepal. Today it is in Nepal. Maybe that time it was a part of Bharat. So that kshetra is called Shaligrama Kshetra, where a lot of Shaligrams are available, especially in that Gandaki river. The Shaligrams are available. Any stone is not considered Shaligram. See, if our bhavana is there, we can worship any stone like that. That's up to us. But technically, a Shalagram is a different type of a stone. It has inside that shalagram, if you break it open, you will find. So there's a shalagram in which there is a hole, in which there is a worm which has gone inside, and it creates carving of the chakra, Sudarshan chakra. So it is a symbol of Bhagwan Vishnu, because that small little worm also is taken care of by Bhagwan Vishnu till that chakra is not found properly. So that shaligram is worshipped as the symbol of Bhagwan Vishnu, and Linga is worshipped as the symbol of Bhagwan Shiva. So this Shaligram Kshetra, so this Pulaha Rishi, he goes to the banks of that to the ashrama Pulaha Rishi on the banks of this Gandaki river. That time it was called Chakra Nadi. So it is said that that Pulaha ashram, even today Bhagwan Hari resides there and gives darshan to people. So it's a very sacred place. I'm not sure whether the ashram is still there in Nepal or not, but this is the mention in Bhagavatam here. So he goes there and he settles down there in that ashram, Pulaha ashram. Now, what happens there? He lives there alone. So he has renounced. So he gave the kingdom. He left there his family, renounced the world properly, as one is supposed to do, like we have seen so many kings have done that in the past. So there he lived alone. He worshipped Bhagwan with various flowers, twigs, tulsi, water from the Gandaki river, offering food with various roots, fruits, bulbs, all that. And his heart became much, much more purified. See, already he has enough devotion. Now it is said his heart was cleansed of material desires and felt full satisfaction. Param nivrittim avapa. Param nivrittim, meaning supreme state of withdrawal. Now, constantly he engaged in bhakti, and he used to worship Bhagwan. Some places here it is written 3 times a day also. And so his bhakti kept on increasing. So his heart would melt when he would think of Vasudeva. He lost all his attachments. His hair would stand on its end. Horripilation he would have when he remembered Bhagwan. Tears would flow from his eyes. Sometimes it will blur everything. He can't see anything. That much bhav he will come into. He would meditate on the lotus feet of Bhagwan. And one analogy is given here that his heart is like the huge lake. See, here it is said that his consciousness being drowned in the deep lake of his heart, brimming over with supreme felicity flowing from devotion. It was enriched by constant thought of the feet of his beloved Lord, red as lotus. He forgot even the worship that was being done by him, as was mentioned earlier. So meaning this is his absorption in that bhav, that even the worship, etc., he forgets. His mind is fully absorbed in the lotus feet of Bhagwan. So here it is said that, his body was shining with this deer skin, his brown matted hair was wet from his daily bath. He worshipped Lord Narayana, who had a golden effulgence and who resided within the sun. So Surya Narayana he used to worship. How? By chanting the mantras of the Rig Veda. So here it is, one beautiful mantra is given here, which is dedicated to Bhagwan Surya. Guru Raja Saviturjata Vedo Devasya Bhargo Manasedam Jajana Sureta Sada Punaravishya Chaste Hamsam Gridhranam Nrishadringi Ramimaha. Nrishadringi Ramimaha. So he says here that who is this Surya? For us, Surya is not just a symbol of just a star of hydrogen and helium. That is a physical manifestation. There is a Surya Dev. And that Surya Dev also gets effulgence from Supreme Lord Consciousness, who is infinite consciousness. So he says that the light of the sun god, which lies beyond the material plane, which means that he is not worshipping only the physical light, the real light, which is beyond sattva. Here it is even said, made up of sattva, unmixed with rajas and tamas. That supreme light dispenses the fruits of our actions, meaning Bhagwan Surya Narayana is Ishvara, he is the Supreme Lord. Because Ishvara is the karma phaladata. So here he says, dispenser of the fruits of action. Paro Rajaha means beyond the rajas and tamas, the supreme purity. Purity is the nature of that infinite consciousness. Savituhu, the one who is the effulgence. Jataveda is the light. Devasya, Bhargaha. You see, the Gayatri Mantra has so many of this. Na? Bhargo Devasya, Tatsavituhu, Varenyam. Same words are here. Effulgence of the Devatas, phenomenal forces. Manasedam Jajana. And it is that same light which evolved this phenomenal universe by its mere thought. Manasa idam Jajana. This whole Srishti is the appearance of just the sankalpa of that Supreme Lord, the pure consciousness, Ishvara. Sureta Sada Punaravishya Chaste. And by mere thought, the whole Srishti has come. And is that Lord separate from the Srishti? No. Entering it, what the Upanishad say, na? Tat Srishtva Tadevanupravishat, in the Taittiriya Upanishad it is said. It's not that Bhagavan created separately and then entered it. Means he only appeared as this whole conscious, whole creation, and he is the inner controller, the Antaryami, and he only protects the jiva. Cheshte, Punaravishya Chaste. Hamsam Gridhanam, seeking its protection with its power of consciousness, he is the one who protects the jiva, who seeks the protection of the Supreme. So, we resort to that light, meaning we surrender to that pure light of consciousness which propels our buddhi. What we say in Gayatri Mantra, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So now this is the background of Bharat Raja. This is chapter number 7. Now we go to chapter 8. So how Bharat Raja lived. As a king, he was very righteous, he did his duties, he did his rituals, he was selfless, he was offering actions to Bhagwan, he did not have doership, enjoyership, meaning his ego was very, very minimal, and he used to worship Bhagwan in the form of the cosmic person, meaning he used to see everything also as the expression of the divine. At the right time, he renounced the world, spent time exclusively in worship of Bhagwan, and specifically Bhagwan Surya Narayana. Now, even to such a great seeker, devotee of Bhagwan, what happens? You see this 8th chapter, it begins that once when he had a bath in this Gandaki river and he finished his Sandhya Vandan, etc., the religious duties, what did he see? He was sitting on the banks of the river for 3 muhurtas. One muhurta is about 40-45 minutes. So he was sitting there for 3 muhurtas and he was chanting Om, Om, Om. So the mantra japa he is doing, Brahmaksharam Abhigrinano, it is said. Brahmakshara is Om. So he was chanting Om. Now suddenly what he saw on that spot, there is a doe which has come. Now she was drinking water there, she was thirsty and she could not even finish drinking water properly, and she heard this roar of a lion and she was very terrified. She was pregnant also. She was terrified of the roar of the lion and she leapt across the river. One huge leap she gave out of that fear and anxiety, and she had to protect herself. She leapt across the river. In that, the fawn was born and it fell into the Gandaki river. The foe has gone the other side out of fear, anxiety, and the roar of this lion and this extraordinary leap that she took. She was exhausted and she fell in the cave nearby there and she died. Now this Bharat Raja, he saw, he's a Muni by now, he's renowned, so Bharat Muni. He saw this fawn, newborn, just flowing in this river. Mother has died. And so what does he do? He saved that fawn. And he was moved at the condition of this fawn and he had a lot of compassion. So the royal sage picked it up and took it to the hermitage. Knowing it to be motherless, his desire was genuine, selfless to help that fawn. So he took to his ashram. Now what happens here? See, compassion is one aspect, but misplaced compassion, attachment is something else completely. Now, first of all, that is a fawn. It's an animal. If one helps that animal out selflessly without being attached, there is no problem. But there is no way by which this animal can rise up to the spiritual level. That Bharat Raja also should, Bharat Muni, he should have known that. And also that he should not have left his sadhana for it. Now here it is said that he intensely thought of this young deer as his own, meaning he felt responsible for it and he conceived an attachment for it by nourishing it, protecting it from any dangerous animals, etc. Caressing it, humoring it by scratching and stroking its body every day. And in this process, what happened? Swamiji, how can you say he got attached? He's genuine, he is loving, he's protecting, and he's taking care. How can you say it is attachment? We say it is attachment because all the devotional duties such as worship of the Lord came to be neglected one by one and actually abandoned in the course of few days. That is what is attachment. He left his house, his kingdom, his family, wealth, everything. And he came here to exclusively worship Bhagwan. And he was doing that also. Yet, how Maya can play? How Maya can tempt a seeker who has renounced? One has to be alert. So this Bharat Muni's prasang here, there is a lot to learn. Prahlad ji showed that how living in the house, even amidst most adverse circumstances, his father was trying to kill him in different ways. He did not leave worship of Bhagwan, nor he got attached to anyone or anything, nor he had any aversion to his father. How to be anchored in the Lord while living in Grihastha, Prahlad ji showed. And how if one has renounced everything also, one may fall in one attachment and then it may lead to a spiritual downfall. That is shown by Bharat Raja and Bharat Muni's life. So it is not that anybody who remains in the house will never attain mukti and anybody who renounces will never fall. Nothing like that. One has to be so alert how Maya comes from in which form, how it will tempt, nobody knows. A seeker has to be extremely alert. Now imagine a person like Bharat Raja. It is not that he is any ordinary person. He has lived in a dharmic way. He has done his rituals. He has worshipped Bhagwan. He has enough vairagya. He did not leave as an escapist, who has some gurgling desires and tendencies in the mind, but who doesn't want to face the world, do the duties. So one has just escaped and renounced. He is not like that. He is a person who is highly evolved. Even that person falls. What to talk about any of us? In which way Maya can tempt, we don't know. It can be through a object, it can be through a person, it can be through some situation, it can be through some organization, it can be anything. It can come in different forms. So here it is that he forgot his spiritual sadhana and he abandoned it because he got so fascinated by that fawn and bringing it up and taking care of it and all that. And now he justifies that also. See, this is where the Maya and the trick of the mind and Maya is like this. So he starts justifying. Now see what he says, that he feels that, it is very helpless. It has been separated from its mother. And time only has brought it under my protection. I have not gone out searching for it. It has come on its own. And it needs protection. I am genuinely doing that only for this. It is a helpless deer who has accepted me alone for its parent, kith and kin and mates. It doesn't know anyone else, and it has great confidence in me. Hence, it is appropriate for me to nourish, protect it, gratify, and fondle in an uncavailing spirit this fawn who exclusively depends on me. Now you think about it. Somebody who, in the previous chapter we saw, who dedicates all actions to Bhagwan and who knows very clearly that Bhagwan is a karta, dharta, harta, we are nobody, and he has lived in that way. Suddenly now he is justifying, saying that it depends only on me and it is befitting that I should only take care of it. Knowing as I do that it is sinful to forsake him who seeks my protection. Did the fawn even seek the protection? The fawn did not seek any protection. It had fallen in that Gandaki river. Now he, out of compassion, went and protected. That is no problem. Protecting anyone who is suffering or who is in difficulty, is natural. One can do that. But this is taking up the mantle of doership on oneself and feeling responsible, now even overprotective, and feeling that I alone have to do it. Without me, it will not be able to survive. Wild animals are there. And, it does not know anybody. And it has sought my protection. This is all justification that the mind gives to justify the attachment as well as the, the neglect of the spiritual sadhana. So he says this. And he says, surely worthy and pious souls who are given to self-control and are friends of the poor ignore their own big interest for the sake of such creatures. See that is a delusion of this Maya now. Nunam haryaha sadhava upashamashilaha kripana suhrida. Kripana suhrida. Kripana means somebody who is literally miser, but otherwise Kripana means somebody who is suffering. So they have great concern for such ones who are suffering. Evam vidharthe swarthan api gurutaran upekshante. Gurutaran swarthan, meaning something big that one was aspiring for, even that one may put aside to help. Now this is the justification. Mukti is the supreme goal of life, and somebody who has developed deep level of vairagya and devotion, etc., renounces everything for exclusive pursuit of Bhagwan to realize the truth, so that the mind is so absorbed in it that it just becomes one with the Lord. It loses its existence also, the psychological mind. He renounced the world for that purpose. And now he got attached to this fawn. Which is why we have to be very alert and careful. We may have dropped something, but it can come back in some other form in our life. Our own mind may justify attachments. If a mind of Bharat Raja, which is so sattvic and pure, etc., can get into this state, how much more alert we should be? Has so many attachments we already have. He had freed his mind. The previous chapter we saw, he freed his mind from attachment, lust, greed, and he ruled for the 10 million years, by which time he had got enough vairagya. Still he got caught. This is a sattvic maya. He doesn't want anything out of it for himself, but he's got attached to it. And definitely there is some joy he's deriving out of it. That's how maya has distracted the mind. So here it is. This Bharat Raja got very attached to it. Now, what happens here? He has become so attached to this deer. Everywhere, everything he's doing is with the deer. You see that. And it is not that he can elevate the deer to the level of his spiritual evolution. He cannot. So he should have kept that relationship to that much. The deer is taken care of, and thus that's about it. Why ignore spiritual sadhana and everything? But that's how attachment is. So here he says that due to this attachment, anusangaha, for this deer, he lays down, walks about, bathes, even eats with the deer only. So with sneha, his heart is bound by sneha for this deer, affection for the deer. Now he is also very protective that, some wild animals may kill this deer. So he took it with him wherever he went to the forest to collect the kusha grass, flowers, wood, leaves, fruits, roots, water. Wherever he went, he would take that deer with him. And very strange it is that if due to its innocence it got stuck up at some place on the wayside, he picked it up and he would put the deer on his shoulders and bring it. And he would then hold it in his lap, in his bosom. He would experience great joy in fondling it, playing with it. And now you see the attachment height. While he's doing some puja, some ritual, where he's connecting to the Lord, in between suddenly he will get up, he will see where is the deer, is it all right or not? See the mind, how much it is attached and distracted. Of a person who was very single pointed in his sadhana. In between the puja, now he keeps seeing. 3-4 times he will get up, he will see, is the deer fine, is everything okay with it? And when it is safe, then he would say, may you be safe on all sides, my darling. This is the attachment. Now, if he does not see it, he feels extremely lost like a miser, or he disturbed like a miser who has lost his fortune. And it so happens that the deer at one point in time leaves and goes away. Then he becomes very disturbed. Now the pangs of separation he is going through. Just imagine that. So he starts even to that extent that he starts condemning himself also, looking down upon himself. You see this? So he says, like a cunning hunter, my mind is always filled with cheating propensities and cruelty. Perhaps the deer, having faith in me, will not consider my offense and like a gentle person return out of its kindness. See this. From where to where is the fall? Is it possible that I shall again see this animal protected by the Lord? He is longing to see it now because it has disappeared suddenly. Shall I again see him wandering in the garden eating soft grass? Perhaps the deer has been eaten by a wolf, a pack of boars, or a tiger. Now his mind has anxieties also. He is missing the deer. He imagines that, oh, maybe again the deer I will see eating the grass in these lawns. He used to worship Surya Narayana. Now look at his condition. He says, sunrise is the beginning of everything auspicious, but it is not so for me. He feels sad. Then in the evening, the sun is setting now, yet the poor animal who trusted me has not returned. Whole day he is spent in thinking about, oh, now it will return. Is it returning? Looking here and there, expecting that the deer will come back. Whole day went just like that. Sunrise he began, and sunset he was sitting and watching all this, lost in the thoughts of that deer. These are all symptoms of moha, attachment, delusion. Uh, so he thinks that will this dear prince come back and drive away my grief by the pleasant personal activities. Now he says, I certainly must have no pious assets, otherwise the deer would have returned by now. Now he remembers, seeing me in meditation with closed eyes, it would circumambulate me out of anger or in love and fearfully touch me with its soft horns, which felt like drops of water. While he is meditating, if the deer is moving around him, his mind is on that deer instead of on Bhagwan. So what is he meditating upon, you see? So he's recollecting, this is what used to happen when the deer was there. And sometimes if the deer contaminates that kusha grass by trying to eat it or touch it with the mouth, etc., then he would be very stern with that deer, and the deer would become fearful and sit down motionlessly like the son of a saintly person. Now he is thinking all this, speaking to himself all this, and like a mad person he goes out and he sees the footprints of the deer on the ground. So he thinks that, oh, they are so small, beautiful, auspicious and soft. Now he thinks that they indicate the superiority of the austerity of earth compared to mine. Look at that comparison. Because earth had the fortune of the deer's footprints, but this Bharat Muni, he is longing in separation. So he feels that earth is more meritorious than me. It shows the path to regain my lost wealth, have made this land suitable for executing sacrifices. Now he thinks all this. Then he looks at the moon, sun has set, moon he looks at, and the spots on the moon look like a deer. So he says that maybe knowing that the deer has strayed away from its home, Chandra Devata has given shelter to that moon to protect it from fearful attacks. Then he says the deer was like my submissive son, and now my heart, which is like the land lily, burns with the feverish flames of the forest fire of separation. Now he is burning in that forest fire of separation. And looking at me like this, burning, the moon is as though splashing its cool, shining nectar upon me like a friend. Now you see, this is where it is. This Bharat Raja has become so attached. Now his whole mind is obsessed with the deer and he's thinking of the separation from the deer. He's suffering in that. Spiritual sadhana has gone long back. Just imagine, it is a pet, it is a deer, and to that deer he has got so attached. Now, it is said in this way Bharat was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire which manifested in the form of the deer. How did this happen? So here in Bhagavatam very clearly it is said that it is a past karma. There is definitely no doubt at all about that. So here he says, the word used here is swa arabdha karma, meaning the prarabdha karma it is. And which prarabdha karma it is? It is that karma which is appearing in the form of this the deer which came was some past karma, prarabdha karma, which had fructified, which is giving result. So there are two types of prarabdha, it is said. One is favorable prarabdha, other is unfavorable prarabdha. See, this favorable and unfavorable is from only one particular standpoint. Otherwise, it's karma which is getting exhausted. But we say favorable standpoint so that that karma which helps to purify the mind, develop more bhakti, devotion, takes us closer to Bhagwan, helps us to engage more in satsang sadhana. That is called favorable prarabdha. That prarabdha which makes us go away from it, makes us more extroverted, attached, bound, strengthens the jiva bhav. That is called unfavorable prarabdha. So here it is that some karma which was there now, that has manifested here in the form of this deer. Some jiva connection must be there. So he came. Otherwise, how could there be such strong attachment for the young of a deer that belong to a different species? Especially in the mind of one who had already left his own sons. See, the attachment to the sons and the spouse, and that is much more stronger to drop. Now he dropped all that, then he got attached to this. How to explain? Must be some prarabdha karma. That's what he says here in Bhagavatam. So, and this has become like a big obstacle in the path of realization. So now this Bharat Raja, he was lost in self-oblivion. The practice of yoga commenced by him, having been thus interrupted. His mind is engrossed in the thoughts of his deer full time, nourishing, nurturing, humoring, caressing, all that. But death doesn't stop. One example given here is like the snake approaches the rat so quickly, the rat is not even aware of it. In that way, death is approaching and we are not aware. Whether we do sadhana or we get attached, that is our prarabdha choice also. Right now we do purushartha, but that is not going to stop death from coming. And so this Bharat Raja, it is said that the deer, from this context now we understand that the deer returned. But now this death has approached Bharat Raja. So it is said both of them died together there. But while dying, he was thinking of the deer. See that. The hour of death, which is difficult to overpass and which approaches with terrible speed, arrived even as a serpent would run up to the hope of a rat. Continuing even at that time to look intently on the deer that was lamenting by his side. So the deer also has come, maybe it is fatigued, tired, exhausted, it has been attacked or whatever happened. Now the deer also is on the verge of death. He is also on the verge of death. And that time he is looking at the deer only and his whole mind is thinking about the deer. With his thought fixed on that animal alone, Bharat, on quitting that body simultaneously with the deer, attained in the next birth the body of a deer. Why? Antakale, whatever one thinks at the moment of death, that will predominantly determine the next birth. And it's not only Antakale cha mameva, it is Antakale cha. Cha means through the life and at the last minute. Now, last few months or years, so he has been thinking only of the deer. Oh, does it mean all his sadhana went for a waste? No. That doesn't go for a waste. So in this birth as a deer, because he has done so much sadhana earlier, he recognizes what a blunder I made. I got caught attached to this deer and now I am in this body of a deer. See, that Vivek Buddhi came because of his earlier sadhana. Otherwise, in animal janma, one doesn't have all that self-awareness and then this past life memory and all that is not there. So he realized that, oh, to rectify my mistake, I am in this deer's body now for whatever time. Now, this will increase his bhakti bhavana finally. And also that he recognizes that, oh, I remember all the past lives past karmas that I did as King Bharat and now how I got attached. Now I'm in this deer's body. So naturally, he was very anxious to get out of that deer's body. uh, and he wants to get out of it and continue his sadhana now. Because in this body, you can only exhaust karma. You cannot do any much sadhana in the animal body. You need the human body specifically. So, this Bharat Raja, what happened to him? He was repentant. He learned his lesson that this is how this Maya overpowered me, and it is my own past karma somewhere. I got very attached, and now I'm in this body of this deer. So what happened to him? Now he wanted to come out of this body. So he's born in as a deer to some other deer, right? So it is said here that by constant repentance, he became completely detached and left his mother deer at Kalanjara mountain where he was born. And again he came to the same forest, to the ashram of Pulastya and Pulaha. Same Shalagram Kshetra he came as a deer. And he learned his lesson that now I will not fall a victim again to this attachment. And he didn't disclose his past to anybody. He remained there eating some dry leaves, grass and bushes, etc. around that ashram. And he understood Bhagwan alone is my true companion. Unnecessarily I got attached. He waited for death there. And finally, he dropped the body. Now he will be reborn again as a human. That will be the 9th chapter that we will take up in our next class, which is next week.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसलन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बनिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया भावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती। अति प्रिया प्रीतम की मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की मंगल आरती मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयम् अग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।